we want to know now your all-time 11, your favourite starting 11. We did this with Gentleman Jim. I thought it'd be fun to do it with you. So what we want to do, you're allowed starting 11, 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, couple of strikers, goalkeeper, 3 subs, and a manager. So do you want to start with goalkeeper?
My goalkeeper would be Van der Sar, just as we talked about before. It was just a game changer, just a player that you never expected to turn up at Fulham. Probably never should have turned up at Fulham, really, when you consider he ended up going to Man United on the back of it. He should have probably flipped that around and done it the other way. I've never, I was a forward, so I didn't really ever care about goalkeepers, but it was the first time I was really watched a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
I used to actually have a ticket behind the goal, so you'd really watch him as well. It was just and he was such a nice guy. Quite often when Fulham played reserve games down at Woking, I'd go to a few down there, and I remember there was one spell where he'd been injured or something, and afterwards he's played a couple of games, and he would just stand around chatting to people, and he just didn't expect that of someone like that. So yeah, just a top man, really.
I like that. Right, your defenders.
I'd be Finnan at right back. I don't think there's really any competition for that. Gradually got better and better, and in the end you just couldn't keep him because he was too good for us. My centre backs would be, I'd have to say Cookie, just for everything that came as part of the package. Not only was he a ridiculously good footballer, he was just such a big personality.
Well, like you said, he was the dressing room.
Best captain I've ever played under.
Yeah?
Yeah, by a million miles. Yeah, great for the team spirit.
Yeah, he was great, and that whole team that was basically built around him that got us up from Division 2, it had been at the time, I guess, was just, he epitomised everything that was great about the team at that time. So I think you'd have to have Cookie in there, and I'd put Breda alongside him, I think, just because of everything he managed to achieve with his club.
Incredible.
Yeah,
such a solid player.
Such a solid player, and again, a really nice guy, a very humble guy, didn't have an ego, which is quite hard to find in modern day football. Even when he left us, and when his time at Crystal Palace, there's a couple of times I went down as a journalist, and Breda was getting the train to training, and just
oh wow,
you just don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
And then left back, I guess Konchesky, I'd probably give it.
Yeah,
I like Rufus.
Rufus would be unhappy about that.
Rufus,
yeah, he would be desperately unhappy.
Yeah, it would have been out of those two. I'd just say Konchesky, just because of the levels he was able to hit under Roy, probably just because of the way that Roy was able to coach that team. Just lifted everyone to a level they probably never got to before. Didn't work out for him at Liverpool after that, but
it didn't. No, yeah. But no, I liked Konchesky a lot, and he had a boot on him as well.
Great striker,
really good striker.
Yeah,
probably scored more goals than
probably
Rufus.
should have actually. Yeah,
really.
Yeah, Rufus will tell you he's 1 goal, Stoke at home or something like that. I think he's got a penalty against someone, Rochdale or something
Rufus
like that.
was fun though,
He was great.
Rufus was great, and everyone loved him. And
I remember when he was injured once, he sat. It was called the Stevenage Road Stand, which I used to have my ticket back then, and he sat all amongst us. I remember as a kid, I was buzzed knowing that he was right behind me, and I was tugging on my dad. Rufus Brevitt behind me.
Yeah. Not tugging on these dreads. That's what we used to do. He used to hate us for that.
I bet. Right, midfield.
Midfield, I have to go Danny Murphy. Just different class. Just loved his passing, his tackling, his work rate, some of the goals that he scored, the timing of them. Just thought he was a brilliant footballer. I couldn't really even believe how long we had him and for that period. Didn't expect him to turn up at that point. So to watch Danny Murphy regularly was a real treat. Not just because he's here, but Sean would actually be in my favourite Fulham 11.
Oh, get in there, Jim. Get me in.
That's one.
You're welcome,
fantastic stuff.
Cheers, fella.
I'll
pay you after.
Yeah. The thing is with Sean, so like I was saying before, there's not many times a Fulham fan you'd be able to see a player come in, have an emotional attachment to someone, and then see them explode and actually care about the club. And Sean is one of the few people that I think, even though he ended up leaving in circumstances which not every Fulham fan would have accepted at the time, you can see it as you look back on it, as you see as a professional why you would have moved. It's fine, but in terms of what Sean was able to achieve and the goals that he scored to get us promoted,
massive goals.
The Wimbledon
they
game.
They were good.
They were very good.
But that season, that was probably my favourite season ever watching football, especially watching Fulham. Remember, there was the Wimbledon game, the Blackburn game, this Huddersfield game in there away where we won 2 or 3-0.
Yeah.
And you just knew that something was coming.
Yeah.
I think Was it the Wimbledon goal that you scored?
Yeah. No, Sheffield Wednesday.
Sheffield Wednesday, yeah. And I remember being at the back of the Hammersmith stand up at the Green Pole for that one. And honestly, the place just went nuts. Yeah. And just moments like that, as a Fulham fan, like, you don't really expect moments like that because we're a small club.
Yeah.
At that point, we were still on that journey up, never actually believing that we were going to get to the Premier League. And it kind of all came together. And to see someone that actually cares about the club help you do it was just a nice thing, really. So Sean gets his place.
Nice.
Well, Sean, you've earned that.
Cost me a fortune to get it.
And then the other midfielder, as just a traditional midfielder, I'd have in there is Moussa Dembele. When he joined us, he was a striker. And I remember actually interviewing him when he came in. And he was like, oh yeah, I want to be like Patrick Kluivert. Like, that's my hero. I was like, okay. And like, tried to become that kind of striker and just didn't work for him at all. He scored a couple of goals, but just wasn't turning out.
Yeah, I remember his shots always seemed to just go straight to the keeper. They were always really accurate, but I don't know, he never really picked out a corner.
He was obviously so technically gifted.
Unbelievable player.
Yeah, just wasn't for him. And then there was this masterstroke to try me as a midfielder.
Oh my God.
And I mean, he never looked back, did he?
He felt like our secret for a bit. Do you remember? There was a point where we were like, no one seems to know about this guy.
Yeah.
Yet he used to get them. I think he was the reason, wasn't it? Famously, Berbatov wanted to play for Fulham because he wanted to play with Dembele.
Oh, really?
That's what I heard. And that's when, I suppose, you didn't think that transfer was going to happen because Dembele had then gone with Dempsey to Spurs.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Martin Jol was then persuading Berbatov that Brian Ruiz was a similar player to Dembele and could do similar sort of things and stuff. But no.
But yeah, Dembele, the way that he could like protect the ball, the way that he could turn, pivot, like little Cruyff turns just in no space at all, distribute the ball. Like, can you imagine playing with someone like that in the field?
You'd have total faith in giving him the ball in any area of the pitch. I think what stopped him from being top was probably just lack of maybe goals and assists, but as a player to play with, he's probably a dream because you just pass it to him anywhere and he'd keep it safe. And then,
player.
Yeah, he was very, very gifted to watch. Lovely to watch. Left footers always seem to be better to watch than right footers, don't they? Always seem to be a bit more smoother. But yeah, he was definitely a fan's favourite when he was here.
Definitely. I think even was it at the Spurs team when he sort of left Spurs, I think he was every Spurs player's favourite player.
Yeah, everyone loved him, and he did really well. But anyway, the other midfielder will be Steve Malbranque, like it's probably the top of a diamond or something like that. Like, Steed was just ridiculous. Like, again, like the way he could beat players in tight spaces, his little step overs, his jinking runs, the goals that he scored, so small but so strong. Yeah. Sean was talking about him obviously and saying like what it's like to train with him. Like, I can't even imagine.
He was very gifted, very quiet guy, kept himself to himself, came in, done his work, left, but what a player. Yeah, what a player. And it took a player to take Lee Clark's role because he kind of came in and kind of was the one who kind of edged Clarkey out, and Clarkey was such a fantastic servant for the club over many years, and he was probably Clarkey was one of the best players I played with just for his touch, and he had no pace. He was like, it wasn't quick at all, but Steed had that pace as well, and he had that kind of knew he was a good player. It was you give him the ball, he'd twist and turn. It was
wasn't he? Again, I hope I get this right, but I'm pretty sure Tony Blair name checked him once as his favourite footballer.
Really?
Someone might have to Google that, or someone might know, but I'm pretty sure. I remember reading that Tony Blair's favourite player was Steve Malbranque.
So Tony Blair was a Fulham fan.
Blair. Well, I don't know if he was a Fulham fan, but he just name checked Steve Malbranque, and it was pretty random from you. That's random.
It's like my Yari Lippmann shout.
I might have dreamt this. Yeah, this might be a dream. All right. On that note, let's move on to strikers.
Yeah, the front two for me. I mean, Louis Saha's just got to be there. Like my favourite Fulham player of all time. Just
don't take that personally.
He's my favourite player.
He was just outrageous.
Yeah,
like,
he's brilliant.
He could just do anything. I remember. I think it was his debut against Crewe.
Yeah.
We won 2-0, and I just remember his movement was ridiculous. He could smash it with both feet. He could head it. He could turn. He had ridiculous everything about him. His touch. And you didn't know a lot about him really before he came in, and it was that. I guess Malbranque was a bit similar, and Tigana brought him in, and you didn't really know what to expect, and honestly, he was just ridiculous. I think he took penalties with both feet at one point, didn't he?
So yeah, left foot and right foot.
foot
We
and
didn't
right.
know. We asked him what foot you, Lou. He thought he was left footed. He went, no, I'm right footed, but injured my right ankle for ages, so I just started kicking on my left foot. Yeah.
Really? Wow.
But yeah, Louis was special. He
Gifted.
could do anything. He could leap, can bring it down. He was powerful. No one liked playing against him, especially in training as well.
No.
But he was dedicated. He worked hard. He always put in the extra graft, shooting and finishing after training.
And again, I don't think anyone blamed him on when he moved. You know, it was one of those things people were gutted, quite rightly so. But, you know.
Listen, Man United come, you're going to go at the end of the day. But I remember, obviously, there was our first game in the Premier League as well.
Yeah.
At Old Trafford.
He made the bad ball look good. He did, and all.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he had explosive pace.
Yeah.
Explosive pace. And that's probably that when you're that explosive and that powerful, you do pick up injuries, and that's probably what maybe stopped him from his name being on more people's lips. You know what I mean? Because he did have a good record. He won a lot of things at Man United. And he played in Champions League finals and won.
He had a bit of bad luck with
played for France.
Knee,
So his knee, little hamstring injuries.
Yeah, he had a few niggles.
Yeah.
But it made me laugh as well. Like he was literally on his toes. Like I know people say like always be on his toes, but it was like he was constantly on his toes, ready to go. When he was sprint, like he just ate the ground up. It was ridiculous. I'd like him up front, and I've just got to put Mitro in. I've got to put someone in from this current team. I don't know how those two would actually team up.
It'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
It'd be interesting, but I think
he'd hold the ball up.
Yeah, I think Sahar playing just off Mitro would be interesting at least, and they'd make some goals out of nothing, wouldn't they?
They would. That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
wow, that's one hell of a team.
I love Mitro, so yeah.
It's fantastic. All right.
On the bench.
On the bench, give us your 3 subs.
I've got to have Pesh in there because Pesh, growing up, was when I was like proper kid, watching this lot get better and better. Like Pesh was ridiculous. I said like I was a forward at Fulham and told I was too small, but I was like, Pescasolido's not much bigger than me.
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, but
he was so nippy as well.
He's a bit better than you. So yeah,
must have been hard to take again.
Nah, fair enough.
He scored some great goals, didn't he, as well? That one against Liverpool.
The Liverpool curler.
Great ball into him, though, wasn't it? It was a great ball into him.
Was it Lee Clark?
Yeah. Was it?
I think I'd have Kearney on the bench. Like, I'm pretty obsessed with Tom Kearney. So he's great. And then it's a tough one. My third sub, like I'm going to put a defender, but I wanted to put Paul Brooker on there because like he was actually my first player. So when I started getting those tickets in the Centre of Excellence, like Brooker was in the team. And I just remember I didn't know a clue who he was really. I was like, this lad is ridiculous. And he was sub quite a lot.
Yeah, he used to come on. He was nippy when he could dribble with the ball, had a kind of mop of a hair. Bosley used to call him. He was a good player.
I always thought, like, fancy myself as a scout or I think, oh, that lad's going to go and do big things. I don't even know really where he ended up.
Yeah, no, I think did he end up going to play for Brentford for a little bit? I'm not sure. He went somewhere else and played, but he was a quick, pacey dribbler.
But yeah, Alan Gomer is my eventual sub, I think, just because I needed some solidity on this bench. Okay. And Gomer was ridiculous, wasn't he? He's just like, you're not getting around him, even if you're Pescasolido.
Another nice fella as well.
Yeah, lovely fella,
Lovely fella.
And well, finally, manager. Who's managing?
Managing? Well, he's already in the team, but I'm going Cookie.
So he's a player manager. We'll get your whole. There we go. There's
Christmas
just,
party would be great.
Look at that.
Well, this is the thing. So, like, I got to know Coleman pretty well when he became manager. So I was covering. That was the spell when I was really like covering Fulham on a weekly basis. And honestly, what a top man! Like, you'd hear like as a journalist like stories of what it used to be like and how you got to go to the pub with like the players and the managers and like you get all these inside stories and like you don't experience that anymore.
Yeah.
But with Cookie, we did. So there was. He just made you feel like you were just like part of it all, really, especially if you were covering them all the time. He wanted you on side. I was quite young at the time as well, like probably early 20s. And I was like, I remember interviewing him a few times on Sky and stuff. And he'd always like make sure he'd be like, let me see your questions. I'd be like, oh no, you need to ask me about this. You need to ask me about this. Ask me about Saha. Like, I want to make sure that like he made those quotes like Saha's leaving over my dead body and stuff like that.
Nice.
And even though like as a Fulham fan, like that was amazing to hear someone talk like that about your football club and like irrelevant of whether he was going to leave in. Like you knew that you had someone in there that believed in the club. He did the same. I remember being on a pre-season tour in Austria, I think it was, and Boa Morte was being tipped to leave, and Cookie was like, I don't care if he's leaving. Put this interview out. I want it like he's not going anywhere. Like, make sure that our view is that he's not going anywhere. And on the back of that, like, he'd take you out for a beer. Like, if you saw him on a night out in Kingston or something, like, he would look after you. Yeah. And it was old school, but it really worked. You know, he gave Fulham fans, obviously, a win at home to Chelsea. And he was just a top bloke. And I remember when he left, like, calling him. And he was gutted because that whole era of that whole spell of his life really had come to an end. And, you know, after that, you're thinking, well, how am I ever going back to Fulham? And obviously he's gone to do really good things. But for me, Cookie just is just set himself aside. You could say Roy Hodgson and people like that. But it was Cookie's character for me that would make him my manager. Nice.
I mean, that's one hell of a team. Hell of a manager. What's going on there, Sean?
Catching flies is normal.
Is it catching flies?
Catching flies.
Nice.
What was your favourite season?
Probably the season we got promoted. Yeah, that was the most enjoyable. Great team spirit, great players. Could name the team off by heart. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So really enjoyed it. And when you look back at it now, it's something you're part of history, part of the club's history.
Yeah. Do you feel lucky that you were at that age as well?
Yeah, I was.
Embrace it.
I had some good senior pros. That's why I always say Cookie, Simon Morgan was about then, Kit Simons, Lee Clark, Rufus, Barry. They all kind of took me under their wing. So it was, I was the young lad of the group. So I could always be mischievous and just blame it on the older players. Which was quite good. Not that I was mischievous.